Good evening, everybody. I have 7:30, so I would just ask if you can make your way to your seats so that we can get started with our meeting. That includes Larry Cohen, front row. Please find a seat, sir. Thank you, everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and call tonight's City Council meeting to order. First, I would ask that everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Harris, if you could call the roll, members, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Ballantyne.
Here.
Ms. Craig.
Here.
Ms. Diaz.
Here.
Mr. Ripera.
Here.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Here.
Mr. Soto. And President Reichenbach.
Here. Councilor Soto is excused this evening. I'd ask for approval of the minutes for the August 13th, 2019 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballantyne.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Ripera.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Hi. Before we move into proclamations, honors, awards, and resolution of recognition, following our committee meeting last week, the administration informed us of an additional resolution. This is for a grant application to fund the city's Vision Zero plan for intersection safety. The grant did not specifically call for resolution, but now one is being requested as part of the application. With this resolution, the city is applying for a $20,000 grant that will fund a consultant to study data and identify accident-prone intersections and recommend safety improvements. The hope is that this will improve the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists as well as motorists. And we certainly want to do everything we can for that. So I would ask that I have a motion to add resolution number 50, 2019 to tonight's agenda.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council comments to add to the agenda from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballantyne.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Ripera.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. Now we will move right into proclamations, honors, awards, and resolutions of recognition. We're going to start first with Council Resolution number 44, 2019, recognizing Welcoming Week and Lancaster's designation as a welcoming city. Just 1 second till Bernie reads it in, and then I'll go right to. No, you're fine.
Oh my
right
God,
there.
I'm so sorry.
Mr. President.
Yes. No, you could have stayed there. That's fine. Come on up. Yes, Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lancaster recognizing Welcoming Week in the City of Lancaster and celebrating the city's designation as a welcoming city by the National Welcoming America Initiative.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Councilor Smith-Waddell. Floor is yours, sir.
Oh my gosh, this is so incredibly exciting. And I think if we just take a moment to look around the room at all the people who are present because of this, it displays our city's meaningful commitment to being a welcoming place to people, regardless of race, creed, citizenship, document status, and income. And I hope that it's also indicative of the amount of will in this city to go even further and be even better at guaranteeing equality and justice for every resident of Lancaster City, again, regardless of race, creed, immigration status, or income. Because what matters is that but you know, like Lancaster is like Olive Garden. You're here, you're family. Let's do this. Susanna, please.
I want to first start off by thanking Millsy and Church World Services for providing us with a Spanish translator today. It's awesome that we have language access for Spanish speakers in the room. Lancaster has had a history of welcome since 1742, not just in its words, but in its deeds. This designation is a reflection of the work we've done and continue to do every day. And when I say we, I'm talking about dozens of community organizations who ensure that Lancaster offers programs and opportunities to help new Americans thrive. Here tonight are many of the organizations that have made this possible. I would like to recognize them quickly now. Acts for Humanity Foundation, Assets, Bethany Christian Services, Bridge, Community Action Partnership of Lancaster County, CASA, Citizen Immigration and Refugee Action Committee, Church World Services, Eastern Mennonite Missions, Islamic Community Center of Lancaster, IU13 and the Refugee Center, Lancaster Chamber of Commerce, Lancaster Health Center, Lancaster Housing Opportunity Partnership, the Lancaster Public Library, Lancaster County Community Foundation, Lancaster County Refugee and Immigration Coalition, the Literacy Council, Penn Medicine Lancaster General Health, the Rotary Club, Spanish American Civic Association, School District of Lancaster, Tabor Community Services, Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology, United Way of Lancaster County, and the 2020 census are just a few of the critical partners that made this certification possible. Thank you so much, all of you, for the work that you do every day. I am also talking about our community and its leaders. We all make this community welcoming each and every day by connecting with and valuing our neighbors, seeing our differences as strengths. And unless there are questions from the councilors, I'd like to hand the mic over to Matt Johnson, who will be introducing a few of these community leaders tonight.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Matt?
Thank you, Council, for...
Name and address, sir.
Oh, thank you. I won't include the number. Matt Johnson, Mulberry Street, I believe, is what we're allowed to do now. I just want to take a second to thank the Council for acknowledging this amazing certification, but also for passing the Welcoming Week resolution. It means a lot. We have a lot going on this week. I don't want to waste too much time or take too much time from the people that you really want to hear from, but I do want to mention that, that we have become this welcoming city, and we've worked hard to put things together. And I want to take a special time to thank Susanna Bartlett for doing the amazing Herculean effort to get all of these people together. So if we could give her a round of applause. And just hope that you will continue to say yes to everything and you will not lose that chipperness, because that's how these kinds of things get done. I also do want to just take 1 second to remind everybody that refugee resettlement is facing an uncertain future in terms of any kind of resettlement here, and we'd ask that people think about whatever ways possible to push elected officials to speak out for the refugee community. The refugee community, the immigrant community, has done so much for Lancaster culturally, economically, spiritually, culinarily, that it's the least we can do to get in touch with our elected officials to make sure that they know that we support refugee resettlement here and that we expect a robust number. But without further ado, I'd like to bring up three leaders of our community that either work alongside of our refugee population or our refugees themselves. Up first, you all know him and love him, and he brought it down to the wire as always, Mustafa Noor. Mustafa, would you please come on up here and say a little something?
Good evening, everybody. Should I say my name and address too?
I think we do.
Okay.
I was just giving Matt a hard time.
Okay, good.
You're fine.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. My name is Mustafa Noor. It's usually I'm facing that way, so this is new. I would like to thank the city of Lancaster for becoming a welcoming city. We've always been a welcoming city. We're just getting the official badge right now. I would like to thank all the partners who are always involved with the lives of refugees. From CIRAC to the Community Foundation to Church World Service and all the other amazing organizations that are always doing. I have first come to this council meeting 4 years ago just to observe what it is to be part of a city council meeting. So it's an honor, and it just shows the amazing work that this city is doing for me to be standing here and talking this time. I would like to also remind people that we're all neighbors. What made this city amazing is that we've all decided to know our neighbors before we started loving them. So part of loving your neighbor is to get to know them, and part of knowing somebody starts, then you can get to the point of loving. Refugee resettlement has been a broad product of a lot of amazing community members, and right now it's facing a threat. So I would like I would urge everybody to just see what's going on nationally. We might not have as many refugees in our area as we're supposed to. So yeah, other than that, I would like to congratulate our city for being recognized. Let's start celebrating. And if you want to know a good place to celebrate, there's a rooftop somewhere that a certain guy owns. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't think we could do near as much of the welcoming that we do without the support of the business community, and I'd like to bring up Jenny Groff, who owns the sweet shop just across the street, to say a word or two about her experience with the welcoming community in Lancaster.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
It's my privilege to be able to be here tonight to give a few remarks. We are so thrilled to be able to do business in this amazing city of Lancaster. And it's our deepest privilege, really, to be able to hire resettled refugee women who are learning English. And probably most of you, as you were walking here, got to smell some of the women's wonderful work, making stroopies right at the sweet shop here on Duke Street. Right now, we have a crew, 3 women from Burma, 3 women from the Congo, and a woman from Syria that are the driving force of the stroopy production. They are highly motivated. They're my heroes. They're resilient. They're grateful. They teach me about not giving up in the face of adversity. And it's just such an honor to be working with them, and also to be launching our social enterprise. And it's launched, but it just continues to keep growing and growing. And I just feel like we have this amazing support, welcoming city that is just behind us 100%. And I just want to thank you, all Lancaster City, for welcoming the families that are coming. It's just really quite an honor. I think sometimes we forget, but it is an amazing privilege that we have to be able to share what we've been given. And I just pray that we'll be able to continue to be able to do that in the years to come. And if you have a minute, stop in at the sweet shop, get a warm stroopy, cheer the women on. They're doing an amazing job. Most of our employees are moms. We found for the kids, it's easier to get acclimated because they go to school, they learn English. I'm a mom, so I can speak to this. When you're a little older, learning a new language, stepping out in a new place, it takes a lot of courage. So we have that in common, and it's just been a delight to work together. So thank you.
Thank you.
And we have one more speaker, Mr. Ahmed. Where'd he go?
And as he's walking up, I can confirm I had a warm stroopy earlier, and it was amazing. I asked for one. She went back, got it right off the line, and brought it up to me. So it was great. Thank you. Sir.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Ahmed. I'm a local refugee who came to Lancaster in 1997. So my father's uncle was the ex-president of Chad, and he was overthrown in a coup, which led my family to flee to neighboring Niger. It was there that I was born in a refugee camp, almost died of malaria, malnutrition, and through a diversity visa, my father was chosen by Catholic Charities to come to the city of Harrisburg. And when we were in Harrisburg, city officials and the people doing the work there told us, there's this great place, Lancaster. They have these welcoming church steeples. There's all these organizations doing great work, and you could go there and really get a piece of the American dream, which is what we were looking for. So we came to Lancaster here in the late 1990s, and I still have pictures at the fountain, at the square, going to market. And those things resonate with me, especially hearing about Welcoming Week and Lancaster becoming a welcoming city. It's always been a welcoming city. And to see that the city's getting behind it, we want to thank the city council, we want to thank the mayor, all the organizations that are doing such great work here, but we want to continue the work going on. You know, we want to make sure that government remains accessible for the refugee and immigrant population here in Lancaster. We also want to urge local businesses to see and commend the improvements and the contributions that refugee communities are giving to the city every single day. You know, I work at the Lancaster Marriott at the front desk, and my day goes with welcoming people to this great city every single day, telling them where to get something to eat, where to get something to drink, but reminding them that this city is welcoming. So in that spirit, we want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We want to continue to welcome, and we want to continue to inspire. You know, this city, when I first moved here, because I grew up in the Hemfield area, when I first moved in town here, I wanted to get one of those signs. I'm glad you're my neighbor. I wanted one so bad. And, you know, I was able to get one, and I was able to help others get one. And, you know, that's the great thing about Lancaster. You know, we could knock on doors. We could canvass for political candidates. We could call our local representative, even if we're refugees. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for coming this evening. And to make it official, if there are no other comments, Mr. Harris.
I have
Oh, absolutely, yes. Councilor Repair.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Susanna, Zyra, and Matt for letting me sit in on their meeting of last Thursday, I believe. We went into a little more detail on the future of the certification and welcoming Lancaster. You've all done a great job in guiding the city and the stakeholders through the welcoming city designation from the beginning to where we are now and in the future. With this certification, Lancaster joins a growing number of cities across the country that recognize the value of immigration as the core foundation that this country was built on. To the new members of our community, whether you just arrived or been here for a while, you can be assured that Lancaster will always support you as you integrate into your new lives. As an immigrant myself, I know the importance that support was for my family. That support instilled a sense of gratitude and a desire to give back to the community that took us in. I hope you will also find that desire to participate and give back. Come back and visit City Council and the mayor often. Let your public servants know that what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. Become a public servant. Police officers, firefighters, medical personnel, politicians, volunteers. We all need to mirror and represent what our community looks like. So thank you again and welcome. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Yes, Councilor Diaz.
I would also like to make sure that everybody keeps in mind of what's going on in El Paso and in Texas and all these immigrants that are actually under severe constraints and in poverty. It's really important to continue calling Washington and advocating for them because they are suffering, and unfortunately children are being separated from their parents, which is something that really hits me core in my heart. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mayor?
Just to thank again, to echo the thanks that Susanna gave to that long list of partners and to the team here at City Hall for shepherding us through a pretty lengthy process. This wasn't, write a quick application and send it in. It was a very arduous process. There were on-site interviews. It was definitely not a guarantee. And this does not mean that we can rest on our laurels. In fact, if we want to maintain it, we need to continue to make some progress in very specific areas that were outlined in the report that we got back from the Welcoming City Review team. And we look forward to doing that, and we are well on our way to accomplishing some of those objectives in consultation and partnership with our many partners that are here tonight. So there will be more to come. This is not a once and done. This is a continuing journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And before we vote, I would just ask, we've been in this building now a couple years, I think, and I think I can speak for everybody up here. This is literally the most beautiful site we've ever had in this building right now. If you just take a look around, it's like tearful, and it's unbelievable. It is an absolutely beautiful site. We got our community, we got our people, we got our firefighters, we got everybody here in one room, and we are a very, very lucky place. We have a long way to go, and we certainly have our struggles, and I talk about it every day, but we're damn lucky for what we have right now for all of you here. So just thank you for being here, and before you leave, take a brief look around, take a picture, because it doesn't get any better than this in a council chamber. So thank you guys for coming out, because this is a really, really good moment right now. So thank you for that. Something was in my eye, so I teared. I apologize. Let me get that out real quick before I ask Mr. Harris for the vote.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Ballantyne.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Prepara.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. Now we move on to another exciting resolution, as if it can't get any better. It can. Council Resolution Number 45, 2019.
Motion to.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster recognizing September 15, 2019 through October 15, 2019 as Hispanic Heritage Month and encouraging awareness among the citizens of Lancaster of the important contributions of people of Latino descent.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Councilor Diaz.
Yes, Mr. President. This is a very exciting moment this month. And I would like Mr. Norman Bristol, if he can come up and give us an insight of what we do for a full month of celebration.
Buenas tardes.
Evening.
You know, to the Lancaster City Council, thank you for recognizing the contributions of more than 40% of the residents of the city of Lancaster that are of Latino descent. We have almost 1 million Latinos in Pennsylvania today. And I think that the city of Lancaster tonight becomes a model not only to the state, but becomes a model to the nation. That when we come together, great things happen. And I have to congratulate the entire city council, but especially Councilwoman Diaz for sponsoring this resolution. And I would like to recognize 4 members that are here today that belong to the Latino community. First is City Councilwoman Diaz, the first Puerto Rican ever elected to City Council woman. We have Sandra Valdez, COO for the Spanish American Civic Association, who is also running for East Petersburg Township. We have one of the top heroes that we have in the city of Lancaster with us tonight, a person that if anything that we have to do with the Latino community of Lancaster, she has always been there, and that is Fran Rodriguez. And finally, I have to congratulate the mayor, because in her first decision as mayor, she made the best decision. And it was appointing a Puerto Rican Latina, Emilce Carrasco, to lead the Office of Neighborhood Services. So with that said, I believe that Lancaster is moving ahead, is moving forward. We have a Latino community that is strong, that is growing. And before I conclude, I want to say 2 more things. especially because of tonight's celebration. And I think that the mayor really exemplified what Lancaster is all about. You know, the governor in 2017 asked me to organize a dinner for a Thanksgiving dinner in the residence. And I told the governor that I will invite some immigrants from all across the Commonwealth, but some of them will be undocumented. Remember, the governor was running in 2018. And he said, I don't care. I'm serving them turkey because they are human beings as well. And that is what we did. And I think that in the city of Lancaster mayor, we have a great leader, just like the mayor, just like the governor. And finally, the longest serving Latino in city council is retiring. And he has been in city council in various occasions. He's a leader in this community. He has served as president. But most importantly, his first job is to be an amazing father and husband, but his second job, he has been an amazing educator. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month in the city of Lancaster and in City Council, you must also celebrate the contribution of Councilman Graupera. Thank you.
Yours. So are there any other comments from members of the public before we move on to vote for this resolution? Do we have a motion in a second? I believe we already have.
Yes, we did.
So we're going to call for the vote. And once we call for the vote, I would welcome everybody who would like to take a step right over there, because it would be a great picture to take. Everybody's here and we can take the time, because when we have good nights, we need to take the time when we're having things good. So we're going to take the time to have those good nights. So we're going to go ahead and call for the vote, and then Councilwoman Diaz can present the resolution. One moment, Mr. Brown. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yep, go right ahead. No, sure. If you have a comment about this resolution, go right ahead. Sure. Can you just share your name?
I'm going with my man said now.
Your name and your street?
I'll go with former Councilman Luther Mendoza. He's the best councilman that we ever had before he ever came.
Okay.
That's what everybody here need to think. Luther Mendoza is the best councilman in everything. He taught me everything I want to know in city council, the whole politics down the line. That's what everybody need to think about him. But don't, because he's gone, because he was a city councilman down in Florida. He retired, like I said, and went down to Florida and worked on the city council board. And retired from Florida and came back home.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Appreciate it. Any other comments from the public? All right, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballantyne.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Graupera.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. Congratulations, everybody. It's an awesome vote and an awesome night. Again, anybody who wants to come over and take a picture, please do so. And we're going to take our time this evening because good nights deserve that. So we're going to take a moment.
You're good.
No.
Thank you, Councilor.
And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least on the list of awesome things that we're recognizing this evening, Council Resolution Number 46, 2019.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster recognizing the Optimist Club of Lancaster for 75 years of service to the Lancaster community.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mayor, would you like to speak on this briefly? Other than just
to say that this group does a lot of local service in our community, from supporting events that are sponsored with the Lancaster Rec Association, hospice camps, supporting daycare centers, Christmas food baskets, and also supporting the domestic violence shelter, just to name a few. And so for 75 years, this group has been quietly working and volunteering in our community, and it is fitting to recognize that milestone.
Agreed. Thank you, Mayor. And I will say, I feel like in Lancaster, we're so blessed to have so many organizations like this that fly under the radar. And if you're not actively involved or not touched by them, you may not necessarily know the work that they do. But I feel like everybody in this room knows at least a few organizations like the Optimist Club in this community that has helped them. The Lancaster Rec Commission helped my family. Several organizations helped my mom when I was growing up. And I bet everybody in this room has a story about an organization like the Optimist Club that did that. So I believe there was someone here from the Optimist Club. I would like to invite her up to say a few words, if you wouldn't mind. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, President Reichenbach, Mayor, for putting forth this resolution, and all of the City Council members. The Lancaster Optimist Club is definitely under-known. If that's not a word, I've made it up. They have operated for 75 years in the City of Lancaster and in the county. The organization itself celebrated its 100th anniversary this past year. Annually, we touch over 10,000 children and youth's lives in the City of Lancaster and the county. Since 1945, quietly, groups have been doing all kinds of things. The mayor has done a nice job of telling about some of those things. But let me tell you what we're very proud about this year. Annually, we sponsor an essay contest. This year, we had a young lady from Ephrata School District win. We also have an oratorical contest. And this young man is from Manheim Township School District. He went to the international contest. I'm sorry to say he did not win, but that was pretty awesome that he won our district level and then went on. And ladies and gentlemen of council, he told me his career future is in politics. So I've encouraged him to continue to speak, and he was an excellent speaker. This year, our topic for our essay contest is optimism the key to achieving the dreams you imagine? Any student in the City of Lancaster, in the county, can write an essay. You can find all the information either on our Facebook page or our website. Our oratorical contest topic is just imagine a world without boundaries. Wow. In addition to that, this year we also have sent a young person to the Optimist International Golf Tournament in Florida. We feel that in another year, we'll see reaping of his extensive opportunities that he was able to accrue at the contest. I want to thank you very much for my club, the people who work. We try to do our best. Anybody, I've given brochures to all council people. I know you guys are busy, but anybody in the audience, if you believe in children and supporting children, we would open our arms for you to come and join us. We meet here in the City of Lancaster at the Elks Club the second Tuesday of the month. And on the third Tuesday of the month, or excuse me, the first Tuesday of the month is the Elks Club. The third Tuesday we meet at the Centerville Diner. It's a group that opens their arms, and we expend our activities to so many different groups. Thank you for this privilege.
Thank you.
Oh, and my name, I'm sorry, I forgot. My name is Susan Grimm-Maddox, 204 East New Street, and a former educator in the School District of Lancaster.
And we're going to present something to you to take back to your organization, if you wouldn't mind. Izzy, before you get up, let's get a vote in. Mr. Harris?
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Ballantyne?
Aye.
Ms. Craig?
Aye.
Ms. Diaz?
Aye.
Mr. Caprera?
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell?
Aye.
And President Reichenbach?
Aye. Thank you, and congratulations to your organization.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we're going to move on now to our first public comment period, and this is reserved for residents who called ahead. There will be a second comment period at the end of the meeting. Mr. Harris, do we have anybody who called ahead this evening?
Yes, Mr. President. First, we have Becky Harkleroad.
Good evening, ma'am. I would just ask that you share your name and your street and just limit your comments to 3
My name
minutes.
is Becky Harkleroad.
Thank you.
I live at 232 East Lemon Street. And I'm here to talk about the Lancaster Cemetery. The board has decided to spray an herbicide called Horsepower on all 22 acres. This chemical kills broadleaf plants like clover, violets, and buttercups. The purpose is to make the cemetery look better. It's a poison. My concern is twofold: the environment and the health of myself and my neighbors. This is a high-density population area. Okay, the cemetery is right in the city. By killing the flowers that I mentioned, the flowering weeds, as they call them, they are destroying the food pollinators and other insects feed on. The bees, of course, pollinate other plants, and insects are needed for birds to feed their young. I'm also worried about the mammals that live there. Are they going to be sickened, die, or are they going to populate our backyards when they flee the cemetery? I'm super concerned about my health. I have lung issues, and I'm worried about breathing the air that is sprayed with toxins. I'm also worried about my neighbors, especially their young children, and we do have young children living around the cemetery. I have called various agencies for information to be informed about what's happening. One of the places I called was the Penn State Extension, and from them I learned that in Pennsylvania there are basically no protections for people who live around spraying. There's not even a mandate to make the sprayers inform or to alert people about the spraying, unless my physician has registered a hypersensitivity to the specific pesticide that they're going to use. Then that applicator must contact me. Otherwise, other than that, they just go in and spray. So the neighbors who live around the cemetery have signed a petition requesting that the board not spray. We've also offered volunteer help and money to help maintain the cemetery. We've also requested that they meet with us. The spraying is scheduled for the end of September, the beginning of October. I got this information from the spraying company, which is called Inch from York. As of this date, as of tonight, the cemetery board has not reached out to any of us. I called the Lancaster Department of Health and was told that nothing could be done to help prevent spraying poisons in our area. Horsepower, the chemical that they're going to use, is a water pollutant and kills aquatic life if there is runoff or if it penetrates groundwater. So we called the Lancaster Stormwater Department multiple times and never got a call back. I reached out to the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, which regulates licensing and makes sure that applicators follow pesticide label requirements. I've read the label for horsepower, and there's a lot of instructions on what the applicator must do to protect himself or herself from the pesticides, but nothing about anybody that is in the area where they're spraying, other than the fact that people are not supposed to walk on the grass when it's wet with the pesticide. They also told me at Penn State that no one at the cemetery has a license to spray. And besides this big spraying that's going to happen at the end of the month, they do spray Roundup a Roundup product, a glyphosate product around the perimeter of the cemetery and along the stones. And that happens regardless of whether the fact of people walking on the sidewalk while they're spraying. Is that my 3 minutes?
It is. If you could just finish.
Real quickly, cities across the U.S. are passing legislation to be free of pesticides. Westchester is the only city in Pennsylvania that I was able to find that have done that. In New York City, the council members introduced legislation to ban city agencies from spraying pesticides, toxic pesticides in parks and public spaces. And I'm just asking for your help to do the same in Lancaster.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing. Mr. Harris, do we have anyone else who called ahead?
Yes, Mr. President. Next is Terry Brown.
Mr. Brown? Just share your name and your street, please, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
My name is Terry Brown, 233 West 7th Street. Only way I'm here for an 18-year-old kid, a Hispanic kid from Puerto Rico, come here to visit 3.5 months. Crisis, somebody called crisis here in Lancaster, and I found out who did it. The person is nowhere around because I was going to have the cops come pick her up because I don't like nobody call nobody for nobody to have somebody picked up and be taken away. This boy here, he's 18-year-old. He's born in Puerto Rico, adopted in Puerto Rico. Dad take a vacation here in Lancaster, and all of a sudden, he just goes off. All of a sudden, crisis, and pick him up because I was going to get him August the 29th, take him to 5th and Pearl Street to eat, right? And here the cops, so I stopped, see what the cops are on. Is one Lancaster City police officer and 2 crisis officer, and I asked for the paper, and I called for every single number on here. Only I get is a code number, and I talked to the parent, the father's got to have a code number to talk to his own son. You got to have some kind of number. I said, I never heard it there in my 24 years of law enforcement. Why are you saying something like this here now? For anybody's child, if you got anybody's child, no matter who it is, you got to tell who it is. You can't tell me or anybody in this whole Lancaster city, you must have a code number or a pass number to see your child. And I said, I will fight this here all the way to the end. I know I got to go to city council. I'm going to county commissioner, then I'm going to Harrisburg, the Department of Health Education, because nobody take people off the street. If you're 18 and over, you count as an adult. Now, crisis is supposed to pick people, juvenile people, not no adult people. Now, I don't like to know why, because even the director would not call me back. I was trying to call him for weeks and weeks and weeks. He would not answer my call, do nothing, because he knows he did something wrong because he don't got no ID, no birth certificate. The only thing he got on him is the name and the clothes on his back every single day. I don't know where he's at right now because I'm trying to help him. Now, when I tried taking me and they took him somewhere, crisis got to tell me where he's at. I ain't worrying about no birthday, ain't worrying about no code number this here. If the stepmother wants to see their child, you got to tell where it's at. You can't tell him something different. You told the stepfather something different, hold something different, and he don't know what to say, what to do. I told him how to get, if you want a birth certificate, you got to go to Harrisburg because he was adopted in Puerto Rico. So right there, he knows, right? Now, I was going to take him and get an ID on Friday, the 30th, but somebody called him for him on the 29th. And I was about 10 minutes late. I don't know who did it, but I found out who did it. The person is nowhere around. That's why I'm here for, city council. Crisis won't say nothing to me, won't answer my calls down the line till I told him, if you're 18 over, they ain't supposed to touch you. I say, this Spanish boy is 18 over. Why are you're touching him for? Because the parents say he's younger. His parents is in Puerto Rico. Now, how can you get somebody from Puerto Rico to Lancaster so fast? Now, he was running the streets up and down Fourth, and they got him, took 3 overdoses and taking K2. When I saw out there, I was trying to get him off out there fast and quick, but I'm glad he is in a safe spot now, because right now, he probably been dead by now. Because nobody is doing nothing, cops ain't saying nothing, ain't doing nothing, just giving citation with no address, no nothing. Some citations don't mean nothing, but I don't like crisis telling me something down the line where I have to go over his head and up a little higher.
Thanks, Mr. Barrett. Bye. Appreciate you sharing. Thank you, sir. Do we have any other residents that called ahead, Mr. Harris?
We do not, Mr. President.
Okay. Then we'll move into another extremely exciting thing. We just have a whole lineup this evening of amazing things. Reports requested by council, Neighborhood Leadership Academy graduation. Mayor, would you like to take it away?
I'm actually going to Millsy.
Oh, Millsy, by all means.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What an exciting night.
Absolutely.
Yes. So just a little bit of information about Neighborhood Leaders Academy. I'll wait until Bernie gets that up. And so Neighborhood Leaders Academy was created in response to residents requesting tools on how to build community. This is a little awkward because you want to talk to the crowd and talk to you guys. And I want to thank you all for the opportunity, Council, to share this information and to believe in our programs and always support. Every time we're here presenting, you guys are always supporting our initiatives, so really appreciate that. So as I mentioned before, Neighborhood Leaders Academy was created in response to residents requesting a way for us to teach them how to engage in the community. The program is a 6-week training and grant program for community leaders to imagine, develop, test, realize projects that build community and provide positive outcomes. Bernie, could you go to the next slide, please? The purpose of the program is to empower leaders in all Lancaster neighborhoods to encourage one another, identify problems, plan projects to beautify the neighborhood and remedy issues, and ultimately celebrate with community and each other. Some of the topics that we reviewed during the 6 weeks was Government 101, just learning about government, county government versus Lancaster City, neighborhood resources, learning about the resources within your neighborhood, community engagement, how to talk, knock on doors, how to have conversations about issues that are happening in your neighborhood. What are your resources? And how to ultimately write a proposal. We had 16 applicants that started the program. Today we have 12 graduating. We awarded 10 grants, and each grant was $500. So we're just going to go through some quick presentations, and everyone wanted to share their project ideas and some of their thoughts about Neighborhood Leaders Academy. And before we go on to the next slide, I do want to thank Kate with Lancaster, Leadership Lancaster. We presented this project to her and asked if she would come alongside and facilitate. And as soon, 5 minutes into the conversation, she said she was in, and that was really exciting. Once we had her on board, we went over to Lancaster Community Foundation, and as soon as we pitched the idea to them, they wanted to support it and fund it and want to see how this pilot moved along. So it's been very exciting from the beginning. And so I am going to actually present the first presentation, which is Emily Allen, who could not be here with us this evening. Her project is Community Litter Reduction Project. Woo! Okay. So her neighborhood concern, she's part of the West Lancaster Jules, and her neighborhood has experienced a large uptick in litter. And neighbors are interested in permanent trash receptacles, and they're very expensive. So part of her plan is to identify areas in West Lancaster Jules through neighborhood audits. And as a team, as a neighborhood group, they're going to select those areas. They're going to work with businesses to co-sponsor the permanent trash bins. And on each trash bin will be the West Lancaster Jules logo. So there's this neighborhood pride and partnership with businesses. The outcomes, litter reduction and education. So they're also incorporating education into their project. and community engagement through partner businesses and residents, ultimately increasing of neighborhood pride. Next slide, please. That's fancy. So I'm very excited to introduce and welcome Lisa Colon, and her project is Community Fall Festival. Lisa.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Lisa Colon, 400 block of North Prince Street. I live in the northwest quadrant. For my NLA project, I've asked 5 longtime neighbors to join me. Our concern is a lack of resident and business interaction. Blighted warehouses have been developed into high-rise condos and businesses with tenants that we scarcely see. Our project is a community fall fest that will have activities for adults and children alike. We have secured interest from local organizations such as the Eastern Mennonite Missions, African American Historical Society, and also the Betty Finney Memorial AIDS Garden. By the end of this event, it's our hope that businesses and residents alike will have interacted with each other, and they will all come away with a new knowledge of each other and potentially create an official neighborhood group. That's my presentation. And it's my pleasure to introduce my fellow graduate, Karima Hernandez.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Karima Hernandez. I am previously the resident coordinator of Garden Court Apartments. My project was based on a school supply drive where I recognized that there was a great need for school supplies in the southeast area within Garden Court. On August 16, 2019, at the Raised Temple Church, I held a school supply drive that had book bags with pens, pencils, notebooks, folders, rulers, binders, sharpeners, and each child, boy or girl, had a backpack. I was able to give out 66 book bags. And after we ran out of the book bags, we were told that 16 of those children did not get book bags. So I returned back on Sunday morning to Raised Temple and delivered 16 out of my own pocket book bags for 8 girls and 8 boys. Thank you. Reason why I felt that this project was much needed is because it was dear to my heart. I also witnessed my mother struggle with school supplies after paying bills. As a single parent with my children are here, this was also a big struggle, and I didn't have the resources to help me out. So they would have a donated book bag with 1 book until I was able to save up for supplies. The outcome of this project afterwards was my family and I decided to do this on a yearly basis where we donate book bags to each organization who would have a block party. We would each stand there and give out the book bags in the name of the Hernandez family. This will help ease the children back to school financially and to ease the burden of the parents. Also have us engage community organizations together with the neighbors to assist in the drive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I will announce a fellow graduate, Megan Blackman.
Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan. I live on Lehigh Avenue on the east side of town, near the Giant drugstore. And there's not currently a neighborhood group active in the area. So I'm kind of at step 1 or step 0 with the goal of trying to just get people to start connecting and engaging. So that's what the project is. It's a pop-up coffee stand just to get people to stop and talk to each other. So I have a schedule. It's really hard to read, but there's 7 Saturdays on the left-hand side there. This fall where there'll be coffee served for free and some activities just to get people to stop and talk to each other and share ideas. The first one was this past Saturday, and it went really well, so I'm looking forward to the next 6. If you live on the east side of town, get in touch, and I'll make sure you have the schedule, or anyone's welcome to stop by for some coffee. Thanks.
Terrific. Thank you.
Priscilla Glover.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Priscilla Glover. I live in the 100 block of South Ann Street. And my proposal is for a tool library in the area. Some of my neighbors can't really afford to fix basic items in their homes. So some of them are renting. And one lady in particular, she's renting a lawnmower for $30. Every week, she's renting this lawnmower once a week. And she's a small patch of grass. She's spending $30 for a lawnmower. So that's one of the reasons that started my whole idea for the tool library. Also, builds community and saves ownership. And some neighbors don't have storage for tools. It's also another one of my reasons. I'm also looking for donations. So if anyone has any extra tools you don't need or you'd like to lend, we'd appreciate it. Yes, thank you. There you go. Wow. There it is. You can see me afterwards. Yeah. The project plan is to have a southeast tool library at the corner of South Ann Street and Dolphin Street, which is actually where there used to be a repair shop. If any of you are from, Lancaster, there used to be a repair shop there for years. Maybe Teddy Rich owned that. So it was very popular at the time. We'd like to see it go back to a repair shop and a tool library. I'm also in contact with the West Philadelphia Tool Library organizers, and they're helping me to develop this tool library. The outcome, hopefully, is increased neighborhood pride, cost savings for South End residents, access to much-needed tools, and strong neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next we have Darlene Bird.
Darlene.
Our project consists of getting a permanent sign for the Peace Garden and planting some fall flowers and maintaining the gazebo. In 1994, the Peace Garden was built on a once desolated mud-packed city street corner on South Ann Street. About 40 SACN residents, children, teenagers, and adults built a peace garden in a lot where a year before, in 1993, a young man, Tyke Speller, was killed in the parking lot. The peace garden represents the good and the not so good of our neighborhood. It stands to remind us where we came from. The ground needed to be cultivated and the minds of the people needed to be cultivated also. So many people told us at that time that it won't last. They will only destroy it. Stop wasting your time. It's not worth it. Yet it is exciting because 15 years later, we are still concerned about sustaining that peace garden. At least 7 years ago, stormwater runoff was becoming the hot topic. So SACN did an Educating Our Neighbors event. We had the Peace Garden redesigned to address the runoff water from the parking lot of Garden Court. This was then when our sign was removed and it could not be put back into the ground. But the mayor kept her promise to get us a trash can in the garden, and it does make a difference. The trash can alone lets people know that we care. And most recently, we secured some money from the DA's office to get electricity in the Peace Garden. Yes, it's hard work, it's caring, it's investment, and it's time, but it's worth it. And it's something the whole city of Lancaster can be proud of. The Peace Garden itself tells a story of a much larger picture of our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is good, and yet it's in need of improvements to address larger issues we face, like housing, police relations, youth activities, education, and investments. And we believe it can be done without gentrification. Given the right tools and the funds, the residents who live in our neighborhood can make a sustainable change and plans for our neighborhood. The Peace Garden stands to remind us and to show us it can be done no matter what people tell us. So I want to take the time to thank the mayor for her vision to build a stronger neighbors. And as a result of the Neighbor Leader Academy, we did just that. SACN made friendships. We are now concerned about individuals' neighborhoods, not just our own, and especially Juan in the Duke Manor Street. And I just got to mention this. He has a domino team, and he challenged South End Concerned Neighbors domino team. Of course, we went home with 2 trophies, but seriously, together we have a friendship, and we are stronger neighbors. And we look forward to Juan and Betty Good to assist SACN with flower planting in our Peace Garden when we get our new sign. Of course, the Peace Garden will be a place where we can have our domino matches. We are planning our annual tree lighting ceremony, and we would have the unveiling of our new sign. And we encourage you to come and celebrate with us. And I just want to thank you, and I want to give a shout out to Milsey and Zyra.
Hey.
Tanea Darby, illuminating South Marshall Street project.
Hey.
Good evening, City Council.
Evening.
I'm Tanea Darby, and I live on the 300 block of South Marshall Street. When I purchased my house from the original owners, I was given a history lesson that my home was built for the World War II veterans that were coming home. So with that, our block, my whole neighborhood practically was built by Thaddeus Stevens in the early 1940s. With that, then, we have a whole lot of mature trees on our block, which unfortunately obscure our public lighting. So I wasn't sure what to do for my project, so I went and actually engaged my neighbors as I was supposed to, and I asked them what did we need on our block, because most of us are homeowners, we keep our house pretty nice, so there wasn't any real beautification that needed to be done. Most of them felt that in the evening hours and the early morning hours, it's very dark because of these trees that obscure our public lighting. The pictures shown there are actually with a flash, and you can see someone has a porch light on. And in the alleyway, we have no lighting at all, and that is also with a flash on. So what I am proposing to do is to strategically place solar post lighting in certain neighbors' yards to make it more well lit along that street, especially on the latter part of my block. Because it is so dark on my block, the beginning of my block, there is a camera. On my end, there is not. So Juniata Street people come around the corner to my dark street and do a lot of business. So by putting this lighting in, hopefully that will help also to deter that. And in our proposals, we had to reach out to resources. So being that Thaddeus Stevens constructed our neighborhood, I reached out to them and gave them my issue with the neighborhood, and they agreed to send a monetary donation, which I did receive. I also reached out to Yale Light. Unfortunately, they don't deal with solar, but I asked them, well, if you can give me light bulbs, LED, energy efficient light bulbs that I can give each neighbor that they can place on their porch light, that would be greatly appreciated. They oblige my obligation as also. So that is what I'm proposing. I will be putting solar spot lighting in the alleyways as well to help for the lighting there. So I'm hoping to have this completed this fall, and I will be reaching out to Thaddeus Stevens to get their students involved to help us put these lightings in.
That's wonderful. Great.
And my next graduates are Claudia and Valerie.
Hello, my name is Valerie, and I live in what I call the No 100 block of Howard Avenue.
And I live on the 100 block of Howard Avenue.
Switch places. Okay. Our project is, we have at Pershing and Howard Avenue, we have where there's a lot of speeding. So we would like to to do some changes to that intersection to help slow down the speeding. So our idea we came up with is we're going to do some artwork in that area. We're going to do an artwork in the middle of the street there. And our artists we have yet to contact. We're a little bit behind because we've had other projects going along for the last year. We joined the Love Your Block grant thing, and we actually won. So we were working on it for a whole year, so it slowed us down in moving on this project. And my statement of pretty much for the last year is, I don't know how many times I said it, I'm so excited because of all the stuff that is going on in the city. And so we're a little bit behind, but we're working on making our contacts to have our contractors come in to work on some things, such as there's some fences in the air at the four corners. There's some fences there that need to be repaired. So we want to work on getting those repaired. And in the process of also repairing them, we want to put some artwork on those fences. We have a corner store there also that the bricks, they need some repairs as well. And they have a wooden railing there, but they actually need two railings. So we'd like to replace those wooden railings with wrought iron railings to make it safe for people coming in and out of the store. The reason for this is we create beauty in that area and also to improve the quality of the properties that are there. We're hoping, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So, and we're hoping that will make people slow down so that they can slow down to appreciate the art that is going on, and that's on the sidewalk and on the fences there. And
We almost got to him.
is there anything else? Okay. We have some people that represent, throughout the last 12 months, we have been working hard around our community with the Love Your Block. We've done beautification things already. We've installed 2 trash cans in our neighborhood, and immediately we noticed a difference of the trash. Now, immediately the trash can was overflowing, which is awesome. And then we have neighbors within our blocks that are emptying these trash cans for us weekly, and they volunteered and are there. I come out in the morning, Thursday morning, they've already emptied it, and we're using our own trash cans to put that trash in to help absorb the extra trash that is being made. We also, within 3 blocks, we have people here that represent Howard Avenue, which we are, our group from the Love Your Block, we're calling the Mussertown neighbors. And so we have been working hard. We've put flowers on 3 blocks of Howard Avenue. We've had trash cans installed on these blocks. And we're here, we want to thank everybody here. We want to thank the mayor, Deneen. We want to thank the Vista team that came out, which was Michael and Carl. We want to thank Millsy, Zyra, and many others who helped us to accomplish all the things that we've already accomplished and that we're hoping to accomplish in the next year. You guys actually, and all those that aren't here, you guys are an answer to prayer for me. And dreams that I've had since I've lived on Howard Avenue. I've been on Howard Avenue for 28 years, and Missy's been on the block a lot longer than I have. And so we've been waiting for something to open the door for us to start seeing improvements in our neighborhood. And a lot of it has to do with relationships for us. More than anything, it has to do with developing close relationships within our community. I have enjoyed being a part of the Neighborhood Leadership Academy and gaining a wealth of information about our city government, being given information about who to call and resources in our community right at my hand. And I was always telling everybody about this because I was very excited to be a part of it. Though I am not a high-paced person, and I usually don't jump in the deep end on stuff, but when this all was announced and Mayor Deneen came down our street, I jumped in the deep end. And I had to learn how to swim deep because I was my schedule was very full, but I enjoyed every moment of it. And so I was telling everybody about this. And so when I had people that knew me, I was getting phone calls and texts. People asked me questions. Do you know where I can get this? Do you know where I can get that? I have a sidewalk that needs repaired. Do you know how I can contact? Before this moment, I did not have that information. So I was able to give out this information to people that were calling me and texting me to get information of how to improve their facades or things in their neighborhoods. Since living on Howard Avenue myself, my family, we moved on Howard Avenue. We had 1 child and 1 child on the way. And right away when I moved onto Howard Avenue, I started doing projects such as yard sales, and I enjoy baking and love cooking, so I would find people who they don't want strangers sometimes, so it's like to take these baked goods from a new neighbor, but it was still something that I wanted to do and I wanted to see in my community. And moving fast forward to today, with the Leadership Academy, it created a different type of outlet for me to connect and for Millsy, yes, for Millsy, for us to connect with our neighbors and pull them together. So we actually, for a year, had already been meeting monthly with people, and we brought that up. We increased the time of meeting and got ready for a block party because of this as well. With that block party, which is encouraging to me, is there were some new people that had just moved into the neighborhood, and we went from door to door with, I don't even know, like many blocks, contacting people so we could develop a committee really quick that we're going to continue. We're going to form a official group out of this. We just had our block party. We're going to get together and get this I want to say legalized, I don't know what to call it, to get it formed so that we will continue on with that. There are some young ladies and people that moved into the block, and one lady said to us that she had lived in a community before, but it never felt like the community that we're creating now because we're actually really relating to one another. I'm excited about this, and I can't stop saying how excited I am for this time, and I can't wait for what's coming next.
Thank you.
Kirsten Krimmel.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Krimmel. I live in the South Side. We don't currently have a neighborhood group in the South Side. For this project, I decided to focus on the only park in the South Side neighborhood, which is located on the 700 block of Beaver Street. While reaching out to the neighbors through canvassing, Zaira Falu, who's another neighborhood resident, and we compiled a list of improvements residents wanted to see in the park, as well as their viewpoints of the park and the neighborhood in general. Most residents felt safe, but beyond their own block didn't feel a sense of community. The most mentioned issues were litter, vandalism, a lack of seating in the park, and a lack of shade. I met with Carl Patterson and Michael Prescott, the former Love Your Block team. We discussed the park and the possibilities, and they helped facilitate the communication of our needs to the city. Unbeknownst to me, for 5 months, WGAL and Lancaster City had been planning WGAL's Day of Caring to take place in South End Park. They were able to use our feedback during the last month of planning to focus on improvements that the community requested. A special thanks to the Public Works Department and specifically to Donna Jessup and Frido Pagan, who worked tirelessly to make this happen. And to Becky Grubb for helping us keep the newly planted trees hydrated in this hot weather. All 8 of them, so we're very excited. We're going to have shade soon. It all came about so quickly, less than a month after the survey, that the residents felt empowered and a true sense that the city is actually listening to our needs as a community. And it's really rare for this short turnaround in these types of requests. As a community, we feel energized. With less than 3 weeks' notice, Zaira and I organized a community day. It was integral to the success of the improvements. The celebration occurred the day after the improvements were made to enjoy the park, but to also bring awareness to the issues that we face as a community that we need to fix together. Although many unforeseen circumstances arose, including temperatures in the mid-90s, high humidity, and impending storms, there was a good turnout. When Zaira was suddenly unable to attend due to an accident which occurred an hour and a half before the event, residents stepped up to help run the activities that we had planned and the food tables. It showed we are united and want the best for our community. Residents are truly excited to see the changes in the park. I am using my $500 grant from this Neighborhood Leaders Academy experience to continue these improvements. I commissioned Adam Serrano, a local artist, to connect with students to create an interactive mural on the community building in South End Park. The project will be completed by the end of October. The ultimate outcome will be not only a mural unique to the South Side neighborhood, but the important experience of creating something as a community and the sense of pride that follows. It's part of a larger plan to not only beautify the park, but to build community pride and spark creativity in our youth. The mural will have a style similar to the cartoon Adventure Time. If you're unfamiliar with this cartoon, the graphics have simple, clean lines outlined in black and using bold colors. The mural will include superhero characters named after our neighborhood streets. The artist is working in collaboration with Mr. Stallings, an art teacher at Hand Middle School, and at Price Elementary School with the Community Schools Director, Bianca Cordova, and Dean of Students, Michelle Pletcher, to involve our neighborhood youth in the process. Students will help choose character personalities and superhero accessories. They may even be painting some of the portions of the mural. Beyond the project, we have found 25 families to continue the discussion, focusing on further improving the park. The Southside neighborhood is in need of structured activities for our kids during the summertime. The kids entertain themselves, but not always in the appropriate ways. Our intention is to apply for the $2,500 Love Your Block grant to make several improvements to the 20-foot by 40-foot community building. The goal is to reinstall 7 windows, 64% of the windows, the original windows, that have been bricked over, leaving it unsuitable as an educational and recreational space. Of the 4 windows that still exist in the building, 2 are in the restrooms. And of the 2 that are in the main space, only 1 opens. Because of this, the building has limited natural light and limited airflow. We are in need of summer programs for our kids in our park, in our neighborhood. And without renovations to this building, it will be difficult to house summer programs there. We do have some secondary ideas to improve the height of the basketball court fence, which is 6 feet high currently, to 12 feet, and to add interactive art to the chain link fences. But none of this would have occurred without the Neighborhood Leaders Academy and all the connections that I've made during this experience. So thank you very much.
That's awesome.
Our next neighborhood leader presenting is Juan Aviles.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Ya. Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Antes de presentarme, quiero saludarle al consejo.
Before I introduce myself, I'd like to greet the council,
a nuestra alcaldesa,
our mayor,
al grupo de amigos y amigas que se han dado cita en esta noche para estar aquí con nosotros.
the group of friends that have joined us here this evening.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Mi nombre es Juan Avilés.
My name is Juan Aviles.
Vivo en la comunidad de Duke Manor Apartment,
I live in the community of Duke Manor Apartments,
un lugar que es bueno y limpio.
a good and clean space.
Mis vecinos también son muy buenos.
My neighbors are also good people.
Trabajo en mi comunidad como líder voluntario
I work in my community as a volunteer leader
con un grupo de 5 personas
with a group of 5 other people,
que IDC el año pasado
which IDC last year,
nos dio la oportunidad de estar en unas conferencias en Houston, Texas.
which gave us an opportunity to be in a conference with Youth Condesa,
Conferencia,
in a conference
la cual tuvimos la oportunidad
in which we discovered the opportunity
de compartir con muchos residentes,
with sharing with many other residents,
con sus testimonios.
with their testimonies.
Aprendimos muchas cosas.
We learned many things.
Mi proyecto en este sistema es un sistema de reciclaje
My project is a litter recycling project
en forma de letras
in the form of letters
con el nombre de mi comunidad, Duke Manor,
with the name of my community, Duke Manor,
y a la vez educar nuestros residentes.
and at the same time to educate our residents.
Durante estas 6 semanas
During these 6 weeks
que estuvimos aquí,
that we spent here,
nos llenamos de información sobre cómo podemos ayudar a nuestra comunidad.
We were filled with information on how we can help our community,
Con información de diferentes agencias
with information from different agencies
que nos brindan ayuda a la comunidad.
who offered us help for our communities.
Quiero darle las gracias a unas personas en especial.
I want to thank some people, especially,
Nuevamente a la alcaldesa,
once again, the mayor,
a Miss Betty Good, que no está aquí en este día,
Demi Good, who isn't here today,
a Miss Debbie, que está acompañándome aquí,
Miss Debbie, who's with me
y a,
today,
y a mi equipo de trabajo.
and my work team.
En esto yo he propuesto en mi corazón
I have put my heart into this,
y he sembrado un árbol en mi corazón.
and I have planted a tree in my heart,
El cual ha estado cultivando durante esos 6 días que estuvimos aquí.
which I've been cultivating these 6 weeks that we were here.
Pero para nosotros ofrecer
But for us to offer
los frutos que he cultivado,
the fruit which we have cultivated,
la primera palabra clave es el amor.
the first word that is required is love.
La segunda es confianza.
The second is trust.
La tercera, seguridad.
The third is security.
Y la cuarta, respeto.
And the fourth, respect.
Si nosotros entramos en nuestra comunidad
If we enter our communities
con esas 4 palabras claves,
with those 4 key words,
la comunidad se va a acercar a nosotros
the community will also come near to us,
y así vamos a poder ofrecerle lo que hemos aprendido.
and so we will be able to offer them what we have learned.
Nombre de diferentes agencias,
Different names of agencies,
números de teléfono
telephone numbers,
y sobre todo que confíen que en mi persona tienen un amigo
and above all, that they be able to believe that in me they have a friend
24/7,
24/7,
la cual para mí es un placer
which for me is a pleasure
ayudar a mis vecinos.
to help my neighbors.
Así nos ayude Dios.
May God help us as well.
Gracias.
Thank you.
My way on picture.
My wife needs a picture.
That is wonderful. Mayor?
Thank you all for being here tonight and for sharing. Mills, you can stay. Just we're going to have a reception across the hall for the Neighborhood Leaders Academy. We are currently accepting applicants for the next round. We look forward to the continuation of the Neighborhood Leaders Academy with our partners. And a big, big, big thank you to the residents who have taken the time to participate and be a neighborhood leader and to assist us in building strong neighborhoods. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And can I just say how great it was to hear that we had a neighbor say that they were busy and they were sorry that they were behind because they were doing another project for their neighborhood. So sorry, it took me a little while to get this other thing done for my neighbor, so I'm not going to do something else. So I said earlier it was the coolest night by everybody we had in here. But that is the coolest thing I've ever heard in this room right there, is just people that are so excited about helping each other, and not just excited about helping each other, but feeling like they're being heard and listened to and empowered to do what they think is right, not what we think is right. And that's all I've ever heard from people ask of me, is just, I know what I need for my neighborhood, just let me do it. And man, it feels good to hear people actually feeling that they're doing that. So thank you guys for coming out. You do not have to wait till the end of this meeting. Go enjoy fun. Go next door, drink, eat, be merry. Take your time. You've been more than patient. Thank you all very, very much. Yes. No, I'm going to make an executive decision. Because they've been waiting long enough as it is. So, they've been. Hour and 40 minutes. They got work. I was just about to move them up, and then they ran out. That was pretty cool too. No pun intended. They just ran out. Yeah. So as people are stepping out, council members, speak a little louder. If you would grant me the executive power to make a slight change to the agenda, I would like to move up ordinances for final passage, Administration Bill number 14, 2019, regarding the fire station, because our firefighters have been here quite a long time, and I was trying to get them in. I was hoping I would get all of them, and then they did something amazing, and they ran out to protect people, which was pretty awesome in itself. So if that's okay, does any council member have an objection to moving them up?
So move.
Great. Thank you. So we are going to go there, and then we'll move back up to where we were in the agenda. So ordinances for final passage. Administration Bill number 14, 2019, authorizing borrowing by a banknote for fire station construction. Mr. Harris.
An ordinance authorizing the incurrence of non-electoral debt of the City of Lancaster, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, by the issuance of up to $9,040,000 principal amount general obligation note, Series A of 2019, the 2019 note, issued for the purpose of providing funds for the 2019 project, which consists of 1, financing related to 2, new fire stations, and 2, other miscellaneous capital projects which may, by resolution of City Council or in lieu of resolution by enactment of an ordinance of the City of City in connection with its then current capital budget, hereafter be approved, and 3, paying issuance costs in connection with the 2019 note, determining to sell the 2019 note at a private sale by negotiation or invitation, approving the form of the 2019 note, fixing the date, interest, and maturity of the 2019 note, making a covenant for the payment of the debt service on the 2019 note, pledging the full faith, credit, and taxing power of this city in support of the 2019 note, providing for the filing of required documents, providing for the appointment of a sinking fund depository for the 2019 note, and authorizing execution, sale, and delivery thereof, and other necessary action.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Councilor Ballantyne.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bond counsel has provided each of us with a black-lined version of the ordinance authorizing and directing the issuance of the City of Lancaster General Obligation Note, Series A of 2019, in an original principal amount equal to $9,040,000. Such ordinance was introduced as Administrative Ordinance Number 15, 2019, before this council on August 13, 2019. I hereby move to amend the ordinance labeled Administrative Ordinance Number 15, 2019 to include the additions, deletions, and other changes referenced on such black-line version of the ordinance, which will be reworded with the minutes of this meeting and which can be summarized as follows. In the caption of the ordinance, inserting Administration Ordinance Number 15, 2019, and the enactment by City Council as September 10, 2019, and in the certificate attached to the ordinance, in paragraph 1, inserting September 10, 2019 as the date of enactment of the ordinance.
Thank you, Councilor. So can I have a motion to approve the amendment?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Council comments? This is simply on the adding the amendment. From the public? Hearing none. Ms. Harris, if you could call for a vote on the amendment.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Ballantyne.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Ripera.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waydale.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. Mr. Hopkins, do you have anything that you want to share, or Councilor Ballantyne, if you want to?
Thank you, President Reichenbach. I will keep this as brief as possible. After all the good news here, we also wanted to talk just a little bit about the good news that we had with the financing of the fire stations project. As you all know, we've had decades of deferred maintenance on East and West King Street fire stations, and it's nice to be up in front of you to talk about how we can finance moving forward with demolition of the current stations and building new stations so that we've got high-quality workspace for our firefighters. We had, in August, we came to you with a presentation to talk about the banknote proposals that we received. We received some fairly aggressive bidding on the banknote process with the winning bid of from ACNB Bank out of Adams, Cumberland County. For the first 10 years of the financing, we'll have a fixed rate of 2.82%, which is a very aggressive rate for that 10 years. We will then have a variable rate with a cap of 5%. One of the benefits of the banknote, a couple benefits. The first one is that we can draw down the funds over the time period that it takes to do the construction of the projects. With a bond issue, we would have to, we would get all of the funds right up front and then begin incurring interest payments right away. With the banknote, it'll be a drawdown loan, so we'll only incur interest on the amounts that we've drawn down. The other benefit is there's more flexibility in either renegotiating the terms of the note if after 10 years interest rates are in a different place and we can negotiate something lower than where this might go after 10 years. That's a benefit. And if we just at some point want to actually just do a straight refinancing, there's more flexibility with this banknote to be able to do that. So because of those benefits, we decided to only go with a banknote versus also going out with the possibility of a bond issue. The ordinance amendment that Councilman Ballantyne read incorporates all the changes into the ordinance that we need to get this adopted tonight, and look forward to your vote on this.
Terrific. Thank you, Patrick. Any questions from council members? Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Ballantyne, do you have anything else to add?
I do not.
Okay. Any questions from the public? Yes. Sure, if you wouldn't mind. There may be one person here who doesn't know who you are.
Tim Stuldera, LNP newspaper. Patrick's description sounds very similar to the description at the City Council committee meeting, just making sure there's no material change since then. None whatsoever. Thank you.
That's what we'd like to hear. Before we call for a vote, I just want to thank the mayor and Patrick and Kevin and the union and chief and the rank and file. Seriously, this is also a very exciting thing. Our number one responsibility, I think, as elected officials is to provide public safety, and you guys can't do that unless you have buildings that are safe. So you should be able to sleep in buildings that are safe. You shouldn't have to worry about the place where you go into work every day. And it is really exciting to think that we're a few years away from you guys having buildings that are going to house you for a long, long time and keep you safe. So thank you for bearing with us. It took some time to get to where we are, but it took a lot of work from a lot of people. So again, thank you, Mayor, and everybody who was involved. This is a good time, very good time. So if there are no other comments, I'll ask Mr. Harris to call for the vote. Yes, sir, Chief. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, your
we
best
ended
uniform
up
on
preparing,
too. You waited so
comments
long.
for this evening.
Sorry. Go right ahead, sir.
So good evening again, Council President and members of Council. Tonight is historical for the Lancaster City Bureau of Fire. After a year of planning and working jointly with Local 319, I come before you to offer my appreciation to Mayor Sirachi and all members of City Council for taking a position and improving and providing long-term sustainability related to the delivery of fire rescue services throughout our city is a top priority, with upgraded fire apparatus and now the construction of 21st century fire stations. As everyone has heard over the past year, our current facilities have outlived their effective use and weren't designed for the size of modern day fire apparatus, coexistence of male and female firefighters, and most importantly, the safety of our personnel. In addition to this, it is debatable that our East and West King Street stations are key to providing response times that are aligned with nationally recommended response standards. We're showing good stewardship to our taxpayers by proposing the construction of new stations on current city-owned properties. This construction will allow for us to provide top-notch service and response for the next 50 years and beyond. These facility improvements will modernize the on-duty staff living quarters and provide a vastly improved work environment through cutting-edge technology. While we all agree that firefighting is a dangerous profession, a growing body of research and data shows that the job-related exposures have a direct link to the development of cancer. Firefighters are facing a 9% increase in being diagnosed with cancer and a 14% increase in cancer-related death compared to the general population of the United States. Unfortunately, our current fire stations don't allow for decontamination of our gear and equipment without cross-contamination. Our team of firefighters appreciate the support and remain committed to providing our city with excellent emergency service response and preparedness. Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you, Chief, for everything you've done. Everything you've done. So I got some. Mr. Wrestler, please. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Mr. President, City Council, thanks for having me.
Sure.
The room cleared out. So for those that don't know me, my name is Kevin Wrestler. I'm the president of Lancaster Professional Firefighters Association, Local 319. As the representative for the firefighters here in the city, I stand in support of this ordinance and ask the City Council vote in favor. It's no secret the deplorable conditions that all three city fire stations have deteriorated to, and firefighters have been raising that concern for years. In our opinion, these projects are probably a decade or more behind when they should have been initiated. Because of that delay, it has hastened the need to get this project started and completed sooner rather than later. That haste has most likely contributed to an increased complexity in getting these stations built, though. Fire industry standards for a city of our size, population density, and response times show a need for a minimum of 3 fire stations in the city of Lancaster, and probably more as the city's population and call volume continue to increase. So don't be surprised if we're back in front of you in the near future to request additional funding for Station 6 and Cabbage Hill. Most would say it's probably in the worst shape of the 3, followed closely by Station 1. With all that said, though, I'd like to thank everyone who has had a part in trying to get these stations built. From Fire Chief Scott Little, Mayor Sirachi and our administrative staff, Matt Metzler and the Public Works employees, including those who are helping with our temporary move to Manheim Township Station 201, the architectural firm, and of course, City Council. This process has been challenging for all of us in different ways, but we truly appreciate all the effort and time you put into making this happen. Before I go, though, I want to take the time to recognize 2 other groups of employees. First will be the employees in the Parks Department who have been tasked with countless station repairs over the years, especially in these last few years where the deterioration has gotten worse. They've dealt with numerous plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and flooding issues, to name a few, and have done an admirable job in keeping the place where us firefighters work and live for many hours a week as habitable as possible. From us at Local 319, we thank you immensely. The last group I'd like to recognize are the men and women of the fire department, past and present. Regardless of the conditions of the fire stations, you still made sure to give the citizens of Lancaster, who we swore to protect, the utmost level of professionalism and dedicated service. It says a lot about your character, and it is an honor to serve with you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
My name is Terry Brown, 238 West Preston Street. Now, this thing is true one long time ago. Now, when everything's built here in Lancaster City, start from the court, the police station, every down line, everything is built and bid, and the bid is that down line. This here is the only thing I ever see in my life, and I ever will see, that you will take a bid and you already approve on it, on the demolish. That bid should have been done and overdone. As soon you went up there and you bid for, and you took the most, and you passed it, right? That bid, he should have had the bid down line. They should have had everything done, set and done with. You don't wait no year, 2 years, because I ain't seen no other places in Lancaster and all over in the state of Pennsylvania, where they're going to take years, months, and months for a bid. Because see, all they had to do is go to the right people, and they would have got the right darn thing. Because once you pass it right, it's only take what, a month, 2 months. But how can you take a year to pass a bid for a demolition of Lancaster City Fire Station? They're supposed to be built on North Prince Street side. That's what Charlie Smith Squad had it built. But it's still set down. If you dig in and look in the files, you'll see Lancaster City Police Station should be built a long time ago. Mayor Gray could have built it, but he took the money and put it in his pocket. Now,
Thank you.
Mayor Sarasi's not here. Now, say, well, next time you take a bid, the bid should be gone over and done with. Why are you waiting until the last minute to build a police station for Lancaster City? That's embarrassing for you and the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any other comments? Hearing none. Mr. Harris.
On the bill as amended. Mr.
On the
Reynolds.
bill as amended, correct.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg?
Aye.
Ms. Diaz?
Aye.
Mr. Grapera?
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell?
Aye.
And President Reichenbach?
Aye. We're going to jump back up on the agenda and move to reports of committees of council meetings held on September 3rd, 2019. First, we're going to start with Public Safety Committee. Councilor Soto is not here, but his committee did not have a report. So we'll go right to Public Works Committee. Councilor Grapera.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Works Committee addressed Administration Bill number 15, 2019, which is taking a utility easement by eminent domain on Columbia Avenue. The bill was motioned to be moved to full council, which is today, and we'll have more to say about it when it comes up on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move to Economic Development Committee. Councilor Craig.
Thank you, Council President. Economic Development had one item on the agenda, resolution number 47, transferring some real estate property in what is known as Ewell Plaza to Lancaster Parking Authority. And we will discuss that at greater length, I'm sure, when it comes up.
Thank you. Move on to Finance Committee. Councilor Ballantyne.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance Committee had several things on the agenda. First, starting with the city's 2018 audit presented by Mayor Dussel, whereas Tracy Rash, who's the vice president of the accounting firm, shared the following highlighted information. A clean audit of the city funds was performed for 2018, and an unmodified opinion, which the city accounting team has accomplished since 2010, was provided, and for which they should be commended. A change in reporting was noted due to the implementation of GASB number 75, which now requires the city to report the full liability of post-employment retirement benefits other than pensions. Previously, the city's reporting of OPEB liability totaled $75 million. With implementation of GASB 75, that liability is now reported as $172 million and does not indicate an additional debt of nearly $100 million, but a change in how that liability for current and former employee benefits must be reported. Also noted a $4.2 million increase in revenues during the year due to a one-time grant, significant real estate transfer tax windfall, and increased transfers into the city budget from water and sewer funds. And finally, city expenses were up about $1.4 million, which is only a 2% increase. Additionally, we discussed the Lancaster Public Library 2020 budget. There was a request presented by Lisa Holland, where she requested that the city find additional funding in its budget to further increase the amount for the library, and provided information about the library, its use of services by the city residents, and funding, which includes, in 2018, 46% of city residents have a library card or had a library card. They borrowed more than 300,000 items with a value of more than $5 million. Patrons logged on more than 40,000 computer sessions and 20,000 wireless sessions, conducted more than 400,000 database searches, and children and adults spent thousands of hours reading during the successful summer reading program. Additionally, the 4-member reference staff answered more than 25,000 questions. The library is also collaborating with several organizations on dozens of different programs. Additionally, we learned that our public library is ranked 4th amongst the state's 450 public libraries for other revenue, which is generated throughout fundraising. We're also ranked 9th for the total number of cardholders and 12th for the total circulation of materials. Of the 450 public libraries, the Lancaster Public Library is ranked 115th for total local funding per capita. So the national average for public library funding per capita is $33.51, and Lancaster receives $1.25 in comparison. That being said, support your local library. Also, for the last 5 years, the library's raised 63% of its annual operating budget through fundraising. And then the final thing we discussed was legislative budget transfer from administrative services to public works engineering. That being said, Mr. President, as you're aware, the transfer of funds from department to department within the city's budget requires approval of City Council. Additional funding is needed in the engineering professional services budget to cover costs associated with the Walnut and Chestnut Street bikeway, storage costs for documents now in the former Streets Bureau garage, attorney fees related to the recent Supreme Court decision on utility rights of way, and issues related to the condemned Plum Street properties. We have money available in the administrative services budget as a result of a recent financing, so I make a motion to approve the transfer of $175,000 from the administrative services debt service line item to the Public Works Engineering Professional Services line item as proposed.
I hear a motion. I hear a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Council comments on the transfer from the public? Hearing none. Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballantyne.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Caprera.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye.
And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Ballantyne. Community Planning Committee, Councilor Smith-Waddell.
So the community planning meeting last Tuesday was quite a long one. We discussed 5 major items, the first of which, as we've discussed at length this evening, was the Welcoming Week and Welcoming City resolution. We also had a review of historical commission recommendations, which we'll discuss further on in the agenda. We had I assume he's across the hall now, but we had a presentation from Juan Valencia about the importance of the upcoming census and his hopes to partner with agencies across the community, including the city, which has a well-organized complete count committee, which has already undertaken the work of getting us organized to maximize the accuracy and breadth of our count. We heard a little bit about the Municipal Operations Climate Action Plan and received a brief of that from Senior Planner Douglas Smith, as well as moving forward a resolution requesting a certified local government grant for historic preservation, as was presented to us by Mr. Christopher Delps. I think that's pretty much what we tackled. It took about an hour and a half there, but I think 5 minutes is fine for now.
Thank you. And we will move on to Personnel Committee. Councilor Diaz.
Yes, Mr. President. The Personnel Committee met Tuesday, September 3rd, and interviewed Krista Freibaum and Naomi Young, nominees for the appointment to the Public Art Advisory Board. Ms. Freibaum and Ms. Young will begin their term immediately and continue until July 31st, 2021. The committee also reviewed a reappointment of Emerson Sampio to the Public Art Advisory Board, Sharon Nelson to the Convention Center Authorities, and Mark Stoner, Jamie Ryans, and Megan O'Donnell McLean to the Human Relations Commission Board of Directors, Stevens I'm going to botch this one, Schwanger, Chad Walton, Daniel Muser, Doug Martin, and Barry Souders to the Board of Plumbing Examiners, and the appointment to Patrick Hopkins to the Downtown Investment District Authority. I make a motion that all of these appointments be approved, except maybe Hopkins. He didn't hear me.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second on all the appointees. Council comments?
Patrick, did you want to say anything?
Comments from the public? Nobody commenting on Hopkins' appointment. It's amazing. All right. Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballantyne.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Rivera.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waydell.
Aye.
President Reichenbach.
Aye.
And that concludes my personal committee appointment.
Thank you. The Committee of the Whole also met on September 3rd. Briefly, we discussed Council Resolution number 49, which is coming up later on the agenda, opposing federal legislation to allow larger, heavier trucks on city roads or city streets. We also discussed Council Resolution number 45, which we already happily discussed, which was the Hispanic Heritage Month resolution. Talked about, excuse me, Council Resolution number 46, recognizing the 75th anniversary of the Lancaster Optimist Club. And lastly, we discussed a request from the City of Reading to join in a letter looking to have a repeal of the state fireworks law that was recently passed. Most of us know that fireworks are on the uptick in the state, and the last year or so around the 4th of July has made that pretty clear. There was a conversation about joining on to that letter to ask for a repeal. At this time, we are going to take a step back. There are advocacy groups that are currently working on this issue and feel like they're making significant progress in trying to get amendments to the law, and they feel as though they're pretty close to those amendments that would certainly impact Lancaster City in a positive way. So we want to give them room to operate. So at this time, we're not going to join on to a letter asking for a full repeal, which would certainly be more difficult and be more timely. And we're going to try to allow the advocacy groups to do their work and see if we can't get it done amendments at a time. That was it for the Committee of the Whole. We will move into the legislative agenda, Heritage, Conservation, and Historic Districts. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. Considering the following applications and recommendations from the Historical Commission and Historical Architectural Review Board for improvements to properties within the Heritage, Conservation, and Historic Districts. The first was East Marion Street Properties, LP, owner of 216 North Lime Street, proposes demolition of 2 vacant one-story commercial buildings, and this application was recommended for approval by the Historical Commission. The second was Sherry Castillo, owner of 136 North Mary Street, requests installation of wooden shutters on a single ground floor window. Crossroads Mennonite Church, owner of 401 Church Street, requests reconstruction of concrete entry steps. And Michael and Kathleen Peck, owners of 324 West Chestnut Street, requests installation of new window opening on the building's ground floor. And these applications are recommended for approval by the Historical Architectural Review Board.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. If it's okay with council, I'm going to pull out A, the East Marion Street properties as a separate item to vote on, and then we'll take the other 3, simply because Councilor Smith-Waydell had briefly mentioned about a conversation we had at his committee meeting regarding the demolition. So let's start with the East Marion properties. Councilor Smith-Waydell, do you have anything to add based on your committee meeting or anything you want to share about that before we go to a vote?
No, not overwhelmingly, other than if not in the actual content of the buildings themselves, they raise some interesting questions. I thought about the recommendations that come from the Historical Commission and how we're really best set up to offer the commission the nimbleness to make decisions in the spirit of the guidelines as opposed to just in the text of them. These are ostensibly historical properties, and there's a way that this could be that their condition could be interpreted as demolition by neglect, but ultimately they are 2 cinder block buildings which do not have any historical architectural details, and so there's a question about, is it just that they are of a certain age, or is it their content, their ability to contribute to the shape of the block? Could something else go? I'm sorry, I neglected to mention, in the space that they're currently in, which would more honor the character of the block, they currently take up relatively small portions in the middle of surface parking lots. They don't overwhelmingly contribute to or take away from the surface parking lot. And so that was a challenge for me, and indeed a bit of a challenge for the 2 Historical Commission members who attended and talked about that a little bit. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Councilor. Appreciate it. Any other comments from council members? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris, we will call for a vote simply on the East Marion Properties LP.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, can I get a motion, a second on that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept the recommendations of the Historic Architectural Review Board for East Marion Properties LP.
Thank you. Mr. Ballantyne.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Capera.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. And now we will take the other three as a group. Do I hear a motion to approve the three as recommended?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Council comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballantyne.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Capera.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. Let's move right into ordinances for first reading. This will not be voted on this evening. Administration Bill Number 15, 2019.
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Lancaster authorizing and directing the proper officers of the City of Lancaster to exercise the city's powers of eminent domain as set forth in Section 281 and 3501.1 of the Third Class City Code, and Section 303 of the optional Third Class City Charter Law, Section 1501 of the Public Utility Code, and Pennsylvania Business Corporation Law, to appropriate and take portions of that property known as 1401 Columbia Avenue, Lancaster Township, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect in accordance with Pennsylvania law.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Councilor Gupere.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill concerns the former Mix Pub restaurant property on Columbia Avenue, just west of the bridge over the Little Conestoga Creek. It's the last easement needed for the large diameter water line that will be built between East Hempfield Township and the city. The city and the property owner, which is Meals on Wheels, came to an agreement for the easement, but were unable to agree on a price. This bill will authorize taking the easement by eminent domain if a price cannot be negotiated. And that'll be on the agenda for the second, for the vote, and second reading and a vote on the 24th.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Gupere. Mayor, just to clarify, I think there was a little bit of confusion because when the word eminent domain gets thrown around, can we just publicly clarify? This isn't about taking the property from Meals on Wheels. This is simply to allow our pipe to run underneath their property.
It is an easement.
Yep.
It is for us to have access to a portion of the property to install a 42-inch water line and then to be able to access that in the future for any needed repairs.
Sure. But in terms of their project, they are all systems go. Has no impact on their
It has no
project.
impact on the functioning of the nonprofit and what they do there.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Any other comments from council or the public at this time? Again, this will be read into the record at our next council meeting and then voted on at that time. So we'll move on to resolutions, which will be voted on. The next four. Resolution, first, Administration Resolution Number 47, 2019.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lancaster authorizing and directing the transfer of 2 parcels of land from the City of Lancaster to the Lancaster Parking Authority.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Councilor Craig.
Hi, it's been found that it is in the city's best interest to transfer 2 small parcels of real estate located in what is now known as Jewel Plaza to the Lancaster Parking Authority. Chris Delp, if you'd like to speak on that a little.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening, councilors.
Hi.
I'll say a few words to clarify the transfer of the property and happy to answer any questions if you have any. The intent here of the resolution is to transfer property along the north and the east sides of Ewell Plaza to the parking authority so the parking authority can proceed with planned land development around the square. The specific property under consideration is divided into two real estate parcels, Lot 3B and Lot 3C, which are defined in accompanying resolutions. The land in Lot B will become part of, land in Lot 3B will become part of the new parking garage facility and public library fronting Ewell Plaza. Land in Lot 3C will become a new building abutting the back of the Holiday Inn and connecting to the hotel via a roof terrace.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
All set.
Any other comments from council? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Valentine.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Gropero.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
President Reichenbach.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Tillis.
Thank you, Chris.
Administration Resolution Number 48, 2019.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster approving and authorizing the filing of a 31st year certified local government grant application with the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission, Bureau for Historic Preservation, in the amount not to exceed $12,000 to be used for various historic preservation purposes.
I hear a motion.
So moved, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Councilor Smith-Waddell.
Chris, I don't know if you want to talk about this one anymore, but I think my general understanding is that we need these funds to have a better inventory and sense of our historic environment, and so we can preserve these things before they come right down to the wire, as we've experienced multiple times on this council.
Correct. Yes, we've applied for this grant every year. We plan to do so again this year. As you noted, it's a small grant amount, no more than $12,000. The intent of the grant, if awarded, is to update the inventory of properties, of historic properties in the city, and will be focused on the southwest quadrant in fiscal year 2020.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from council? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Valentine.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Gropero.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. We'll move on to Council Resolution Number 50, 2019.
Sorry, that's number 49, Mr. President. A resolution.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have one before 50. Look at that. Bernie's still in his game. That was actually a test to see if you were still awake then. Well done, Bernie. You passed. Council Resolution Number 49, 2019.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster opposing federal initiatives to allow heavier and longer commercial vehicles on our nation's roadways, thereby compromising safety, health, and damaging our infrastructure. Sorry, it's been a long night, Mr.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. This legislation was brought up on behalf of the city and also on behalf of the police department. Chief Berkeyheiser in particular spoke to us about it. Basically, the long and short of it is we have anybody who hangs out in this city in any neighborhood has experienced almost on a daily basis a ginormous truck going through a neighborhood that it shouldn't be going through. There is legislation at the federal level that's looking to allow larger and heavier trucks to be on the roads. Currently, the biggest truck that we really deal with would be approximately 80,000 pounds. This would bump it up to 91,000 pounds. Trucks are usually approximately 80 feet in length. This would be, 91 feet in length. This would allow it to be even 10 feet longer. So basically, again, if you're in anywhere in the city and you have trucks going through, the last thing you want is 10,000 more pounds and 10 more feet of a truck going through your neighborhood. So we are going to send these off to our legislators, and we are going to be confident that Congressman Smucker is going to read it and listen to us, because he listens. The peanut gallery has agreed with that assessment. Any other comments from council? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Valentine.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Gropero.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. Now, Bernie, Council Resolution Number 50, 2019.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster requesting a WalkWorks grant of $20,000 to be used for Vision Zero Action Plan.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mayor, do you have anything you want to speak about this?
Just to say that this is part of our Safe Streets priority in the city. We're continuing to identify intersections to prioritize in terms of improvements for pedestrian and bicyclists. And when we do that, it often improves the safety of cars that are traveling through those intersections as well.
Terrific. Thank you, Mayor. Any comments from council? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ballantyne.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Mr. Capera.
Aye.
Mr. Smith-Waddell.
Aye.
And President Reichenbach.
Aye. Move right into our second public comment period. Open for comments about issues that were not on tonight's agenda. I'd ask that you limit the duration of your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anybody here this evening that would like to speak? Hearing none, we'll move into the report of the mayor.
Thank you, Council President. As anyone who has run for office knows, knocking on doors is one of the most helpful things you can do to keep it real and to know what residents are thinking about. What I heard was a lot of conversation about how residents wanted to see the success of the downtown to be felt in their neighborhoods by all of our residents. And so that's why the city's strategic plan leads with strong neighborhoods. And that all begins with knowing your neighbors and being a welcoming city, which we celebrated earlier tonight. And also our Neighborhood Leaders Academy. They really were amazing, weren't they? Mm-hmm. So the citizens you heard from tonight are leaders, helping neighbors solve problems, connecting with larger community resources and tools. They're bringing ideas and opportunities to the city like they did tonight, and that is just the start. So we're really very excited about the work that's happening in our neighborhoods. I also wanted to give you an update about where we are with block parties. This was one of the things that we wanted to expand. They are a tool for neighbors to begin to work together and facilitate connections and relationships. So with the help of a sponsorship from Giant Food Stores to date, we've been able to award $11,000 to support 22 mayor's block parties to residents to expand their efforts and make sure they have the resources to pull off awesome events. City representatives, including me, police chief, fire chief, director of neighborhood engagement, and many, many other staff have participated in these block parties. In addition, during the same time period, there were 37 additional block parties that did not receive funds, but received permits through the Loop office. So I think that's pretty encouraging to think about the number of block parties that are happening across the city in every corner. On the internal front, I wanted to just follow up with council to let you know that we recently completed conversation with each of our 3 labor unions related to 2 new city policies. The first of these policies is a social media policy. This was developed because of the city's use of various social media platforms, which has become crucial to how we communicate with residents, businesses, and visitors to the city. This policy provides rules and guidance for the creation, management, and use of social media platforms by all city departments and employees. It also guides the personal use of non-city social media platforms by city employees. This personal use of social media by city employees is generally protected by the First Amendment, of course, and for many city employees by certain rights afforded to union members. That said, there are certain legal, ethical, and common sense matters that have to be followed, which are captured in this language from the policy, and I'm just going to read you one quick section. The City of Lancaster recognizes that these types of tools can sometimes blur the line between professional and personal lives and interactions. Therefore, employees are reminded that as representatives of the City of Lancaster, their office and their department, the rules and guidelines in this policy must be taken into consideration when participating on social media platforms, and particularly when identifying themselves as employees of the City of Lancaster, or when the context might lead to that conclusion. By exercising discretion and common sense when employing social media for professional and personal purposes, employees will help assure that they do not inadvertently compromise applicable professional, legal, or ethical standards. So this was a long time coming because social media and writing a policy related to social media for personal use as well as use across all of our departments was somewhat challenging, but we were able to get some very good practical and legal guidance from some other communities who've done it before. The second policy that I wanted to bring forward is one that I am particularly passionate about, which is the Code of Conduct policy. This is the one that reflects the high ethical standards and accountability that I expect of all city employees at all times and in all situations. The Code of Conduct policy applies to all city employees and is best summarized by the following language. In order to best serve the citizens and customers of the City of Lancaster, officers and employees of the city must act individually and collectively to create a city government that is responsible, fair, honest, and open. City employees are expected to demonstrate the highest standards of personal integrity, honesty, and conduct in all activities in order to inspire public confidence and trust in their government. That's all I have for you tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Report of the council, I only have one thing, but it's in 15 parts, so bear with me. I'm kidding. I don't have anything. Council comments?
I just wanted to say that there, since this is the Heritage, the Latino Month, there's another festival in Longs Park this 21st of September from, I think it's from 12 to 9 o'clock. Just a reminder, in case anybody was interested in going.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other comments?
The first half of our meeting it gave us a lot to celebrate. So it was just cool to see all of that and to really appreciate the authentic city that we live in. So thank you.
Agreed. Agreed. Any other comments? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Great job, everybody. Yes. Great night. Thank you. Thank you.
That was a long one.
10 minutes.